I honestly never thought I'd see a day when this might happen. For the last 20 years, higher education in the United States has been bleeding young, low to middle class male students, and no one seems to care because everyone was benefiting except for them. But now, Florida is leading several other states to walk away from traditional accreditors like SACSCOC, or simply SACS as many of us refer to it, and building a new system from the entire ground up. And that could change everything. Hey, my name is Todd, and thanks for stopping by. I work in higher education, I'm a psychologist, I'm an author, and I'm an advocate for men. In a moment, I'm going to break down several implications from what could be history's biggest shakeup in the largest education system on the planet. So be sure to stick around, because if you know any men, young or old, that might be attending college or university soon, then you might want to share this information with them. What we're talking about here with this shakeup is an entire cultural reset, with less DEI dogma, more focus on trades, and more masculine coded fields, fewer Title IX witch hunts, and actual breathing room for young men to speak up without being branded as toxic. If they get this right, it might finally become possible for men to recenter a system that spent years telling them that they're the problem. For context, SACS is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. I know, very stupid name. But it's one of several major regional accreditors in the United States, which regulates public colleges and universities in the yellow shaded states shown here. Now, accreditation is what gives colleges and universities their legitimacy, such as access to federal financial aid and national recognition for its degrees. Most people think that it's just about academic quality, but in reality, these accrediting bodies, they shape almost every part of how institutions operate. That includes finances, leadership structure, curriculum, campus policies, its student discipline systems, and compliance with federal mandates like Title IX. Now, these accreditors are so powerful that they can approve or block new programs. They can withhold approval for institutional growth, and they can even block funding sources. And all of that, as you can imagine, gives them tremendous, massive leverage. And in recent years, they've used all of that to push political priorities like enforcing DEI policies, regulating what counts as student support, and embedding ideological expectations into how their schools report their outcomes. Now, quite simply, if a college or university doesn't comply, it risks probation or loss of accreditation, which is effectively the death sentence. So when Florida leads itself and 5 other states to abandon that structure to build its own accreditor, it's challenging and changing the ideological chokehold that's been quietly shaping higher education for decades. And depending on how it's implemented, that move could reopen the doors for the very group in higher education that's been quietly pushed out: young men. In June 2025, Governor Ron DeSantis officially announced the formation of the Commission for Public Higher Education, or CPHE, led by Florida and backed by 5 other Republican-led states, including Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. Apparently, Florida has already seeded this effort with a $4 million appropriation, and state university boards are currently acting as the initial governing body, while CPHE is structured as a nonprofit corporation. Other states that are adopting Florida's lead, such as Louisiana, have already moved to join CPHE, and more southern states are considering partnership. So the big question is, how could this accreditation reform reshape men's experience in higher education? Now, Florida and the other states leaving could have tremendous, and I believe powerful, positive, serious long-term implications for men's enrollment and experience in higher education, especially when viewed through the lens of political, cultural, and institutional reform. Here's some ways that some of it could play out. Number 1, recalibrating the campus culture. Along with the other regional agencies, SACSCOC and the other traditional accreditors have been seen, for better or for worse, as enforcers of progressive orthodoxy on campus, such as DEI mandates, mandatory gender sensitivity workshops, and institutional expectations around pronoun usage or microaggression policies. With a new accreditor like Florida's CPHE, red state universities could begin rolling back or reframing some of those cultural narratives. So its implication for men? Young men who have been alienated by what they perceive as overly feminized or ideologically rigid universities, they may start to feel more welcomed. If the campus message shifts from "you're privileged, so sit down" to "you're responsible, please rise up," then some men might actually find that to be more motivating. Number 2, greater emphasis on workforce and masculine-coded fields. The new accreditor may support a more serviceable and workforce-oriented curriculum that prioritizes trades, engineering, agriculture, law enforcement, and business over fields that have been politically charged or less practical. So the implication for men here is that because men are already overrepresented in fields like engineering, tech, and skilled trades, a stronger emphasis on these programs would attract more male students, particularly working class men who might otherwise bypass college for immediate employment. Number 3, less bureaucratic red tape that leads to more institutional flexibility. By ditching legacy accreditor mandates that are often criticized for requiring costly DEI expansions, Title IX infrastructure, or bureaucratic compliance, schools may free up some of their resources and shift their institutional focus. And the implication for men here is that this could mean less emphasis on grievance politics and more on achievement and fair discipline, something that many men respond better to. It could also mean fewer Title IX kangaroo courts and more balanced due process protections in misconduct cases, which is obviously an issue that has substantially and disproportionately affected male students and even ruining some of their lives. The fourth implication here, more space for opposing masculine voices, and I think that this might be the most important. Because in recent years, male students expressing non-progressive or opposing views have found themselves isolated, silenced, or outright removed from their institutions. But this realignment in accreditation could actually embolden universities to finally protect ideological diversity more vigorously, or at least shift the range of possible political possibilities. The implication for men here is that this could reduce the psychological friction that many men feel on campus. If being male, assertive, or conservative is not treated as inherently problematic, then more young men may actually stick around, participate, and even graduate. The fifth implication is that tuition and student pressure could drop. Now, this might be a long shot, but Florida's vision includes a more cost-effective system. If CPHE institutions can maintain accreditation without the exaggerated, bloated costs of compliance and the culture war infrastructure, then there's potential that tuition might stabilize or even decline. Again, a long shot, but the possibility is at least there. The implication for men here is that since young men, especially those from lower income backgrounds, are more likely to view college as a poor return on investment, then lowering costs could directly boost their enrollment rates. Now, implication number 6 is a bit of a negative one, but with time it would be worked out. And that's possible federal tension and degree risk. Until CPHE is fully federally approved, which does take time, degrees from those schools may face questions about recognition, especially for grad school or out-of-school employment. And the implication for men here is that men are more likely to drop out or to transfer if the payoff is unclear. So if there's ambiguity about whether their degree will count when looking for a job, then some might actually opt out for trade schools, or they might bypass that college entirely unless the value proposition is clearly communicated. So the bottom line for me is that this is not just an accreditation battle. It's a cultural and institutional reformation. And for men, it might finally signal a rare opportunity, that the chance to re-enter a system that spent the last 2 decades telling them that they were the problem. If these schools follow through with the reform, we could see higher enrollment, stronger campus discipline, and programs that are better aligned with male learning styles and goals. But if it turns into a partisan tug of war with no real reform underneath it, then the risk is that it'll be just a new name on the same exclusionary system. So if you're still watching, thank you very much, and please do something with this information. After commenting and subscribing, please share this video with somebody that needs to see it. But even more than that, take action. Reach out to your state, college, or university system, your alma mater, your college in your region, and ask them where they stand on accreditation reform. Ask if they're still tied to legacy gatekeepers like SACSCOC, or if they're actually exploring alternatives that serve students rather than political agendas. Let them know that you support institutions that value practical education, ideological balance, and systems that welcome men back into higher ed without shame or guilt. Because even more than a policy issue, this has potential to be a total cultural recovery, and it only moves forward when people push back.